economic progress in the last 6 years since President Bush left office. Instead of losing 800,000 jobs a month as we were during the final months of the Bush administration, we are now creating some 250,000 jobs a month and have seen steady job growth over the last 58 months. Instead of having a record-breaking $1.4 trillion deficit, as we did when President Bush left office in January 2009, the federal deficit has been cut by more than two-thirds. 6 years ago, the world's financial system was on the verge of collapse. Today, that is certainly not the case. While we can be proud of what we have accomplished in the last 6 years, one would be very wrong not to appreciate that there is also a lot of very bad news in our economy, especially for working families. Most significantly, the simple truth is that the 40-year decline of the American middle class continues. Real unemployment is not 5.6%, it is 11.2% if one includes people who have given up looking for work or people who are working part-time when they want to work full-time. We do not talk about this issue, but youth unemployment today is close to 17%, and African-American youth unemployment is over 30%. Real median family income has declined by nearly $5,000 since 1999. Incredibly, and I ask my colleagues to listen to this, despite huge increases in productivity, the median male worker, that man right in the middle of the economy, now earns $783 less than he did 42 years ago after adjusting for inflation. The median female worker now makes $1,300 less than she did in 2007. Shamefully, we continue to have by far the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country on earth. In the midst of this tragic decline of America's middle class, there is another reality. And this is the main point I want to make this morning. And that is that the wealthiest people and the largest corporations are doing phenomenally well. The result, the United States today has more income and wealth inequality than at any time since the Great Depression. Today, incredibly, the top 1% own almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. Let me repeat that, because I think what Senator Enzi was talking about has got to be put into the broad context, and that is that the top 1/10 of 1% today own almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. Today, one family, the Walton family of Walmart, owns more wealth than the bottom 40% of the American people, some 120 million Americans. In terms of income, what we have seen in recent years is that virtually all new income is going to the top 1%. Last year, the 25 top hedge fund managers earned more income than 425,000 public school teachers, and that gap between the very, very rich and everyone else grows wider. The fact of the matter is that over the past 40 years, we have witnessed an enormous transfer of wealth from the middle class to the top 1%. In other words, we are witnessing the Robin Hood principle in reverse. We are taking from working people and the poor and giving to the very, very wealthy. From 1985 to 2013, the share of the nation's wealth going to the middle class has gone down from 36% to less than 23%. If the middle class had simply maintained the same share of our nation's wealth as it did 30 years ago, it would have $10.7 trillion more in cumulative wealth than it does today. While the middle class continues to shrink, while millions of Americans are working longer hours for low wages, while young people cannot afford to go to college, while children in America go hungry, we have seen since 2009 that the top 1% has experienced an $11.5 trillion increase in wealth. Mr. Chairman, what we are talking about is not just a moral issue, it is an economic issue. 70% of our economy is based on consumer spending. And when working people do not have disposable income, when they're not out buying goods and products, we are not creating the jobs that we need. The debate that we are having this morning will have a profound impact on the lives of the American people. Many of my Republican friends are in favor of cutting Social Security, cutting Medicare, cutting Medicaid, cutting nutrition programs for kids, while providing huge tax breaks for millionaires and billionaires. That is their idea of moving the economy forward. In my view, on the other hand, if we are serious about rebuilding the disappearing middle class, reducing income and wealth inequality, and strengthening Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, we need a budget that creates millions of jobs, raises wages, makes college affordable, and demands that the wealthiest people start paying their fair share. In all of these matters, the President's budget begins to move us in the right direction. At a time when almost all of the new income gains go to the top 1%, and when corporate profits are at an all-time high, the President's effort to end egregious tax loopholes that benefit the wealthy and large corporations while providing tax breaks for working families is exactly the right thing to do. At a time when real unemployment is over 11%, the idea of increasing substantially investment in our infrastructure and creating hundreds of thousands of jobs is the right thing to do. At a time when 20% of our kids are living in poverty, the President's budget triples the child care tax credit to $3,000 per child and makes an additional $1 billion investment in Head Start exactly the right thing to do. At a time when more Americans are unable to go to college, the President proposes the first 2 years of community college to be free. That is exactly the right thing to do. Let me conclude, Mr. Chairman, by saying this. If we are serious about figuring out how we're going to pay for what this country needs, we might want to take a hard look at why major corporation after major corporation in some years pays absolutely zero in taxes. From 2008 to 2013, General Electric made nearly $34 billion in profit in the United States. Not only did it pay nothing in federal income taxes, it received a tax rebate of nearly $3 billion, and the list goes on and on and on. There is a lot to be done. Our job is to protect the middle class. Let's get to work doing that.